In this video, I'm going to share with you a match that I had back in 2012 as a young black belt. And I'm sharing this match. It was not a win. It was a loss. But a lot of times, us people that have been training for a long time and people that have been in anything really, they'll typically say, look, you don't lose, you learn, or it's okay to lose, or failure is just feedback, these sorts of things. And a lot of times I know that it's hard, when you're in the moment of that stuff, to take that advice, because it sucks to lose, it sucks to fail, it's not fun, right? But a lot of times, I think we all know this, who we are is defined by the way that we screw up. What do you learn from those failures? What do you learn from those losses? And in this situation, in this match that I'm going to sort of piece together throughout this video, I'm going to share some ideas just, again, on the way that this loss affected me. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I've talked about this match several times. It was one of those moments, it was a transcendent moment for me. And this loss probably affected my game more than any win that I've ever had. And so basically, during this match, what happened is we were up in Ohio and we had a ton of guys. So again, I was a young black belt. I'd only been doing this stuff for about a year and a half full time, and this was my first big black belt tournament. I did one previously, right? I'd done a couple tournaments, but they were smaller. This was the first time where all eyes were on me. And one of the bigger tournaments that I did in Miami, it was a little bit okay. It was easier because I didn't have all my students there. In this tournament, I was in Ohio, and I'm just up there, and all my students are watching. We had 30 people, 22 competitors, and another 8 spectators from the gym. So we had 30 people. There was a pretty big sized group for our team to be taking up 3 hours away from the gym. And so we're up there, and everybody's watching me. This is my first time in front of my students as a head coach, as a black belt head coach, competing. And so I remember that the most overwhelming thought that I had during the match was, I don't want to lose in front of my guys. That was the thing that was going through my head over and over and over again, right? I have a journal that I keep with me. I've had for years, and I have that page in my journal, and the whole thing is about, I don't want to lose in front of everyone. And instead of thinking about winning or my techniques or anything else like that, I was thinking about, I don't want to lose. And during the match, that fear of losing completely controlled me. So during the match, I don't really know, when I watch the match, I don't know who that guy is, right? I look at myself, I'm seeing myself compete. It looks like me, he kind of moves around like me, probably even sounds like me, but that's not me. I don't know who that is. Because the moves and the techniques that I was doing, those were some of my weakest positions, but I would just stay there because the guard was comforting. I didn't really have to take a chance there. I could lock him up. I didn't go for much at all. And towards the very end of the match, and even then, it was just a half-assed attempt. In the very end, I lost by an advantage, right? Basically, the guy was kind of trying to pass. I shot into half guard. They gave him an advantage for getting to half guard. He won on that. The smallest margin you can ever think of, right? And so I remember after this match, obviously, I was super upset. You can see it in the video. I wasn't very happy. And I walked off the mat, and I sat down, and I knew, I was like, the guy, maybe if I would have done everything that I could, maybe I couldn't have beat him no matter what. Maybe I couldn't beat that person that day because it just wasn't my day. That's a possibility. But I know that in that match, the guy didn't really beat me. He beat some other person that stepped up there and took my place. A person that was gripped with fear, a person that was nervous and scared to lose and really didn't go after it. And so after that match, I was so frustrated, not because I lost, but because of the way that I lost. I didn't go after it. My first black belt match that I'd had ever I was drinking a beer with my friend for his birthday. We're out there having a cookout, eating fat food. All of a sudden I get a text message from a friend that runs a tournament. He was like, hey, we need a black belt to fill in. Can you do it? I'd had my black belt for maybe a month. I was like, sure, why not? And I went up there and I lost my first match in that tournament, but it was a shootout, and it was a great match. It was a fun match to watch. It was a fun match to be a part of. And I walked off the mat having used several of my techniques incredibly effectively, and even people were coming up to me like, man, that was your first black belt match. You looked really good. In this match, I looked terrible. And it was not because I wasn't better. I was in great shape at the time because I just finished an MMA fight. What happened was I was just scared to lose because I had so many people around me and I felt this pressure. And I talk about this all the time. After that match, I sort of vowed to myself, I'm never going to step off the mat and feel like that again. I'm going to lose again. I know that. You're going to lose at some point. That's going to happen. But if I'm going to lose, I'm going to throw everything that I have at that person. They're going to get my whole like arsenal of techniques. I'm going to throw everything that I have at that person. And when I walk off the mat, at least I'm going to know I did everything that I could to defeat this person. And that mindset sometimes has gotten me in trouble at matches because at times I don't fight for points like I should. Instead, I'm just like trying to advance position and go for the submission. But in most cases, that sort of mentality, right, has served me so well, and I've won more matches now. My ratio of winning has went up more now than it did even when I was like a white belt and blue belt. And so I'm sharing this with you guys because, again, you know, a lot of times I know that some of the younger guys, they think that once they get to a certain point, right, once I get to brown belt or black belt, I'm not going to be nervous about these things anymore. Once I've competed more, I'm not going to be nervous about it. You're always going to be nervous. You're always going to have to fight with, you know, the thoughts that you have now, right? Everyone's a little different, but if you have some nervousness, you have some insecurity, you have some self-doubt, that's always going to be there. It doesn't go away. You just get better at dealing with it. And so when you guys are competing, understand that you're not necessarily competing with the person that's standing in front of you. I mean, you are, obviously, but more so than that, you're competing with the person that's inside of you that's trying to get you to like shut down, the person that's trying to make you second guess yourself. You're trying to conquer that more than anything, because if you can conquer that, like that inside person, that person that's inside of you that's basically trying to make you get away from the situation, right? Because there's a lot of people that don't even compete because of that person. That person conquers them and says, ooh, man, I don't want to compete because, and input excuse, right? We can always come up with an excuse. And that person beats them before they ever get out there. But when you get there the day of, that voice inside of you is even louder. And so you have to conquer that, because there's no way for you to get out there and compete and be as effective as possible to really let yourself go. You can't let go unless you get rid of that sort of voice inside of you. And so the thing that's helped me the most, guys, is, and this is just sharing with you, is making sure that when I compete, I'm not focused on winning. I'm not focused on losing. All I'm focused on is hitting my techniques and letting it all out there. And so that would be my idea to you guys. And I'm just sharing with you this little thought. I saw that match this morning. I saw it in an old file. And, you know, again, even when I watch it now, I'm like, man, what was I doing? So I'll talk to you guys next time.